10 people who were buried alive but survived. This is their story. The idea of being buried alive is a universal fear. Waking up to find yourself trapped underground is almost a death sentence. These stories are amazing stories of survival and show how much the human body can handle. Philomèle Jonnetter, a 24-year-old French woman, had contracted cholera in 1867. After being given the last rites by the priest when she was pronounced dead, it was decided to be buried. When the gravediggers put Philomèle's coffin into the grave, after an hour they heard some knocking. After taking him out of the grave they called a doctor, who was able to make him well after hearing his heartbeat very lightly. She managed to live one more day before actually dying. A woman living in the suburbs of São Paulo was shocked in 2012 when she visited the family grave and witnessed a truly shocking sight. Near the grave, she saw a man trying to get out of his grave. Several workers managed to get the whole person out of the pit. The doctors sent him to the hospital. No one knew how he ended up buried alive, but the police concluded that he had been beaten nearly to death. When Lu Xiaoyun from China's Dongong province gave birth to her baby, the baby showed no signs of life and everyone thought it was dead. However, Lu's husband did not give up and immediately went to call the ambulance. Lu's mother buried the child in the yard during this time. When Zion's husband returned, he pulled the child out of the pit and saw that there were still signs of life. The child died after 3 days in the hospital as the couple had no money to pay the bills. Mike Meany is a little different on this list. The Irishman buried himself alive to perform some kind of magic. He stayed in the pit for 61 days, without dying, and without ending up in madness either. Meany is not the only one who has performed this act. Digger Odell tried to break his own world record for staying more than 61 days. Meany made a hole in his coffin so he wouldn't die of carbon dioxide. From this hole his friends gave him water and food. He also used glasses to prevent the sun from killing his eyes. He is recognized in the Guinness Book of Records. While Mike Meany was helped by everyone and was under the full supervision of his friends, there are several other wizards who managed to get out of their graves without help. One of them is Anthony Britton, who almost lost his life in this issue. He was buried 2 meters underground. He put on handcuffs, but instead of being placed inside a coffin, he was put directly into the ground. 9 minutes after the burial, Britton was still underground. But it was his team that pulled him out just moments before he died. Britton later said his arm was trapped by the platoon's compression. So oppressive was the force of the earth that he could barely breathe. When 2 women were taking a bike ride down a Compton, California trail in November 2015, they heard the cries of a child coming from underground. They notified the police, and officers discovered a small female infant nestled under a pile of asphalt. The baby had been born just a day before. The police managed to identify the mother, who was arrested for attempted murder. Now the child enjoys full health. The famine in Ireland caused a large amount of death. Irish diggers found it difficult to find enough space to bury all the bodies. They worked so fast that they sometimes made mistakes. As was the case with 3-year-old boy Tom Guerin, who was mistakenly buried alive but managed to survive. Guer was taken for dead and buried, and during the burial, the workers accidentally broke both of his legs with shovels, but he managed to get to the surface. Some historians think the workers knew Tom was alive after he screamed in pain when they shoveled his legs. In May 2015, a woman was passing by a cemetery when she heard the cries of a child coming from underground. She approached and saw a baby buried alive. When the police arrived at the scene, they transported the child to a hospital. The story that was revealed later was horrifying. The child was born with a cleft lip and therefore the parents did not want to raise him, so they put him in a cardboard box and sent him to the cemetery. Natalia Pasternak has one of the most unusual stories on this list. Born in Siberia, Pasternak often went for walks in the forest with her dog. One day, she encountered a bear in the forest, which attacked her, injuring both of her legs, and she fell unconscious. Thinking that he was dead, the bear dug a big hole and put Pasternak in it to save it as food for later. Fortunately, hunters arrived on the scene in time and found Pasternak buried under the mud. The hunters killed the bear and managed to save Natalia. In 1915, Essie Dunbar was living in South Carolina. At the age of 30, she suffered an epileptic attack. Doctors declared her dead and prepared her burial. Dunbar's sister wanted to be present, so the church extended the services at her request. Although Dunbar's sister did not arrive in time, the pastors decided to proceed with the burial process. But shortly after the diggers had finished placing the casket in the grave, Dunbar's sister arrived and begged to have her sister exhumed again so she could see her one last time. Dunbar woke up and laughed at his sister. Everyone was shocked and ran thinking it was a ghost. But Dunbar sought to convince everyone that she was alive. However, for 4 consecutive years the residents of the area thought that she was a ghost. Despite this, Essie Dunbar continued her quiet life in South Carolina until her real death in 1962.